Hello, this is Grant Hughes of Grant Hughes Investigates on YouTube. Please hit that like button, share, and subscribe. As you're aware, I've been working on an animation regarding the movements of the white Elantra in the Bryan Kohberger murder trial regarding the deaths of Ethan Chapin, Xander Kernodle, Madison Mogen, and Kaylee Gonzalez. Now, I believe that the white Elantra is, besides the DNA, the single most important element of the case that shows the movement of a white Elantra missing its front license plate. And as we know, the white Elantra missing its front license plate parked at 4:08 and then left at a high rate of speed at 4:20 and 47 seconds. Inside of that 13-minute window there, a knife sheath was left on Madison Mogen's bed that had Bryan Kohberger's DNA on it. And the knife sheath matched the make and model of a K-bar knife and knife sheath that Bryan Kohberger purchased on Amazon months prior. But today's video is going to be about the first two passes. But something that's really interesting that I wanted to show everybody was in the document. You can see right here, after each of the passes, when it's coming around, it says headlights briefly shine on upper exterior of 1127 King Road, indicating a vehicle turning north towards Queen Road from the southern parking area of 500 Queen Road. So what they're talking about here, if we take a look at a map, is right back here. So this, for orientation, this is the 1122 King Road address where all four victims were killed. This is 1112 King Road right here. And the vehicle drives around like this. And then as it's coming around right here, headlights flash and hit this building over here. This house. And then you can tell that it's turning because of the way the light's moving on it. And then it stays in this position. And then they have a time frame where it drives out. Now you'll see that the car obviously parks here for a certain amount of time on each pass, waiting and watching and looking at the residents. So let me show you how this light interacts with those buildings. I actually drove out there a couple of years ago, or about a year and a half ago, in December of 2023, and I boosted up the contrast on this camera, and I'm driving back behind 500 Queen Road. So let me just show you again on the map where we are right now. We are right here, driving around like that. And in a minute you'll see my headlights come over and you can actually see these buildings over here. It's pretty crazy. Watch. So we're coming around, and this is the parking area behind 500 Queen Road. And you can see my headlights. And you can see in the background, see that white area there? That's one of the buildings. And that is the one that we're looking at. As you can see, if I go back and forth like that, it has a couple windows on the top. And then there's that building right here that has matching lower paint and upper paint and two windows. That's the left side of a building. And as it's going around, it actually puts some light on the building that's over here, back behind there. And it also depends on what kind of vehicle you're driving. But you can see that the light makes it through over there. And let's take a look on my 360-degree camera exactly where that is. See? This building right there is the one that is on the left in that image, obviously. And see how this has the same paint top and bottom? What we're seeing in that is this window and that window. And then on the left is that building right there, which is the 1127 King Road address where the light is hitting. So again, right back here, look. That's the building right there, and this is the one that has the same color paint on it. You're just seeing the left side of the building. At least that's my interpretation of it. I just thought that would be an interesting element to point out before starting the video. And the way this video is going to be, it's going to play the full loop in real time. The first two loops I'll be commentating, and then I'll play a version that is 250% speed, which will make it really easy just to sort of quickly visualize the patterns that the vehicle is doing. And then each time that the vehicle is spotted on a surveillance camera, the vehicle itself, I don't do the ones where it sees a light on a building. I put a little flash on the screen just so you know that's a moment where a surveillance camera picked it up. All right, so let's get started on that right now. And again, as you see the flashes, that'll be where a camera is. See, just off to the left there was the 787 Indian Hills Drive. And this is just estimates, but the vehicle was driving very slowly here to have a good 25 seconds between these two homes. So it must have been driving slowly. Now keep in mind the vehicle I have is about double the size on the screen just to make it easy to see. And that was at 3:26:35 at 763 Indian Hills, and then at 755 Indian Hills Drive. That flash there was at 3:26:43. Now the next time we see the vehicle on a camera is going to be at, they have it at 3:28:56. I think it's actually 3:28:40 something. That's one of the cameras that was off by like a minute 47 or something, they said. But it was off by quite a bit. Let's see if I can find that while this is driving. They said that that one was 1 minute and 30 seconds behind. Approximately. I think it's more like, I don't know what direction they're off by, but I think it goes past through the intersection about 10 seconds before they said it did, because 6 seconds later it's at the Ridge Road address, which would be you'd have to just absolutely be going like triple the speed limit. And as you notice, I actually put in video from my trip out there in various locations so you can see these specific locations. All the way back then, I knew what the route was, so I drove it and filmed it. And I believe this is Steiner Avenue here. And coming up here in a moment, we'll have the intersection at, it's where the Dairy Queen is. And that's supposed to be, they say at 3:28:56, but I think it's more like 3:28:40 something. And here's a real life driving up to that same intersection. Now we're going through the intersection, and if it's 3:28:49, boom, picked up on the A&W. But you can see how fast that vehicle is driving on that road. And it has to drive that fast to get to here at 3:29:02, and then 04, two different cameras filmed the Elantra driving by. And then it drives up here, then it's going to turn on Taylor Avenue. And it must have slowed down quite a bit, because in this location right here, to get to the Linda Lane camera that it's going to pass here in a moment, it would have to drive kind of slow coming around that corner. And that kind of makes sense, because now he's in a sort of a more open area where cops might be, and you want to drive slower so that you're not, alerting any police to pull you over. And you can see I have all the different buildings labeled. The 1122 King Road address has a red tint on it. And the vehicle comes in here. There's a video of it turning in. And then right around in this time is where a flash again happens. And that's going to be at 3:30, and that was 3:30 and 22 seconds. Then it drives up slowly back here. I think it actually even stops in front of there for a little bit, or it just really, really slowly drives by. And it would need to drive that slowly to, for it to coordinate matching the time. So it shows you that he was just really slowly, methodically, and stalking the house. So here he is going around that turn here. That was a 1330 Linda Lane camera, picked him up there at 3:30:55-ish. And now it's going back behind 500 Queen Road. And you see it right there. And right there is where the headlights would have hit 1127 King Road there. And then the vehicle parks right here for like a minute or so. And this is what it would likely look like, because I did all these different positioning and of my vehicle when I was out there about 15 months ago. And we know that the vehicle stopped back here because it's not seen again on camera until 3:33:01. All right, so the vehicle likely stopped there for over a minute, like a minute 20-ish. And I think right now he's just watching Madison Mogan's room. And he is waiting, and I think the lights are still on, and people are still moving around, and he's likely getting frustrated at this point because, he expects them to already be in bed so he can go in and start his massacre, but it's not happening. So the white Elantra, missing its front license plate at this point, is stopped right here, waiting and watching. And it's going to be here for another, I don't know, I think I have him taking off pretty soon here. And here it goes. This is what it would look like to pull up and around, and then it drives by at 3:33:01. It's possible he left another 5 seconds before. Again, my car is double in size, so perhaps I was a little too fast. And then it drives slow over here. Okay, so it does stop right here. Obviously there's a stop sign. Then it turns, goes around, and then it goes up, but it drove really slowly back here. And I think because when you're back here, you can see 1122 King Road and observe and watch even more. So he drives very, very slowly back here. And it was 3:33:36 where the lights can be seen on that road driving by. And we know it drove slowly because they actually have it on surveillance camera. When it's leaving the area, they can see it turning left, and the lights are on the trees left of Sigma Chi over there. And Sigma Chi is in the upper portion of the screen. And I think he basically stopped the car in this area for a little bit on the road. It was late at night. He could just wait and watch and look around and see if anybody was driving on the roads. You can get a good view from there. And then he started driving. And the reason, there's many different delays here where you can tell that the vehicle stopped for a while, either observing or trying to kill time. And here we go. And I think right now it's still on Willanta Drive, but it's also called Ridge Road, apparently. And he takes a left. And then it'll drive down to the intersection down there. And the intersection is Paradise Drive and Ridge Road. And then it takes a right here. And that was at 3:13. You can see it heading south, and then at 3:35:14 it's heading west. Now I think the vehicle might have stopped in this area right here and just kind of waited around, maybe just slowly moving, but likely just stayed still. The program I'm using in Adobe Premiere doesn't allow it to fully stop. It can do 1% of the speed. So just picture maybe the car pulling over for a while. And it had to have done that. I guess it's also possible that the vehicle drove south into areas where there's no surveillance cameras and then came back up. But we're just accounting for the time here. So it's 3:36:03, and then at 3:38:12 is when the headlights are seen northbound again on Elantra Drive, behind that 1119 King Road address again. So we're just taking up the time that the vehicle was somewhere else. Now you can speculate wherever it went. It could have gone south, maybe even practiced a drive out to Palouse River Drive, and then came back up, because it's not far from there at all. Or it could have just waited and stopped. He didn't want to just keep driving around quickly doing loops. He gave, at least 7 minutes between each of the loops that he was doing. And so he likely just parked and waited and gave the roommates more time to go to sleep. So now I have him taking off again at 3:37:02. And then at 3:38:12, after it makes its way all the way around up here, you'll see it passing behind 119 King Road, and that's another lighting pickup by the 1112 King Road. 1127 is the house, as you can see on the screen there, that's south of 1119 King Road. And right now it's on Elantra Drive again. And we're at 3:37:49. And maybe he drove slow again in this area, just to monitor, see what was going on at the house. You can see through the trees that house and be able to tell if lights are on or off. And likely the lights were still on at this point. Just remember, Dylan Mortensen said they were all in bed sleeping by 4. And there it is. That's the 1112 King Road camera picking up the lights of the vehicle driving back behind 1119 King Road. And then here it is driving on King Road. And then on to Queen Road. And there again is the camera picking up from 1112 King Road. And then likely slow down again here. Just based on the timing, it obviously slowed down. And that last shot was at 3:38:34. And then at 3:39:07, which if you were just driving normal speed wouldn't take anywhere near that as much time to get around this corner here. So here it is, 3:39:07, boom, coming around. And now it's behind 500 Queen Road. And this is pass number 2. And by the way, leave a comment in the comment section of what you think, and maybe where he was during those times where it appears the car is stopped. Now I have one in the daylight here just so you can kind of see what it looked like. And then the car parks here for not as much time, but maybe 20, 30 seconds or so, okay? So that concludes the portion where the vehicle does its 2 laps. Now I'm going to play for you just the animation of the vehicle at 2.5 times the speed, and you'll really get a better picture of it. Okay, so let's take a look at that right now. Alright everybody, thank you very much for watching. I actually decided to make the sped up version 300% speed, not 250, so that's how fast that was going. These types of videos take a long time to make, very complicated graphically to put all together, so I hope you guys appreciate it. Let me know in the comments if you like these types of videos. I'm going to be putting out part number 2, which is pass number 3 and 4, which get really interesting at that point. So make sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you'll be get the notifications for all my videos. All right, so again, thank you all very much for watching, and as I always say, until next time, be safe out there.